Today we're making some extremely tender halal barbecue chicken drumsticks and a nice little pasta salad to go with it. To get started, we'll thaw and lay out 3 to 4 packages of Midamar Zabiha halal chicken drumsticks on an aluminum foil lined baking sheet. Toss those in the oven at 400 degrees for 35 minutes while we make a barbecue sauce of our own. If you want to try those drumsticks for yourself, head to midamarhalal.com and use code YTSHIP for free shipping on one order over $99. To start, we're going to crush 4 cloves of garlic and give it a rough chop. Next, we'll finely dice a yellow onion. As always, you'll want to cut the onion in half so you have a nice flat edge. Then you'll place 3 to 4 horizontal cuts, then twist the onion towards you and place 10 or so thin cuts vertically. Then we'll twist it again and place more vertical cuts. This is a super fast way to dice onions, and honestly, I don't even remember how I prepared onions before I learned how to do this. Now we're going to bring in around 3 tablespoons of neutral oil. I always use peanut oil because the smell is really mild, but canola or vegetable works just as well. We'll get that nice and toasty, and then we'll pour in our onions and give them a stir. Fry those up until they soften and start to have a little color on them. Now we'll bring in the garlic, or gar as we like to call it. Fry that up until the gar is nice and fragrant and has softened slightly. Then we'll add in 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of freshly cracked black pepper, 1 teaspoon of coarse salt. Then we're going to mix all those seasonings into our onions. The chili powder will absorb into the oil and bloom a little bit, and that'll make our barbecue that much more flavorful. We're going to add some sweetness with 1 cup of brown sugar. Gently stir that around until it darkens up and slightly melts. Then we'll add in 2 cups of ketchup, and I stirred it in at this point because I was afraid the sugar would start to burn, but if you're more bold than you can skip straight to the next step and add half a cup of yellow mustard, 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 1½ tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1/3 cup of Worcestershire sauce, 1/3 cup of molasses, half a cup of honey, and 2 teaspoons of Tabasco or more if you're feeling a little extra spicy. Swap over to your whisk and give it a proper mixin' so everything is put together nicely. Get that simmering and lower your heat slightly, then we'll let that bubble for about 15 minutes. Give it a mix every once in a while just to make sure nothing is sticking to the bottom. Now you gotta give it a little taste to adjust for your own tastes. I decided mine needed more coarse salt, so I added 1 teaspoon more and whisked it up again, and it was pretty good. It always amazes me how a little extra salt goes so far. Once the drumsticks have baked for 30 minutes, take them out and season both sides with salt and pepper and bake for 5 minutes. After that, we'll come in and brush them with our sauce. Make sure you get the sauce on both sides of the chicken so it's nice and flavorful. We'll let that cook for another 10 minutes or until the chicken hits 165 degrees at the thickest point. While that finishes baking, we'll start up on our Greek-inspired pasta salad by boiling 8 ounces of tortellini. Then we'll drain those, rinse them with cold water, and set them aside while we prep the veggies. To do that, we'll quarter 2 small burpless cucumbers. I slice off those ends, I cut them in half, I cut them in half again, and then I slice them into tiny, thin, little bite-sized pieces. And then we'll set those in a little bowl. Next, we'll dice up half a large red onion the same way as we did with the yellow onion before, and then set that aside. Slice around a cup of cherry tomatoes in half, and then set that aside also. Now we're going to finely mince around a tablespoon of fresh dill, and then, believe it or not, we're going to set that aside. At this point, your chicken should be just about done, so pull that out of the oven to rest while we finish the pasta salad. We started with 8 ounces of pasta, but look at that, we end up with 1 pound and 2 ounces. Then we'll hit it with 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of red vinegar, the chopped dill, the red onion, the cucumbers, the tomatoes, a half a cup of Kalamata olives, 4 ounces of feta cheese, half a teaspoon of coarse salt, and some freshly cracked pepper. Mix it up, give it a taste for seasoning, and once you're liking it, call it good. And that's it. Serve your tender halal barbecue drumsticks with the pasta salad, some chips, and enjoy. We'll see you next week with another delicious halal recipe.